everyone, I'm Chuchu. Today, let's take apart something we think we already understand. See some preference of patriarchy, and your brain does this automatic thing. Women victors, men winners. He's a genetic jackpot. Case closed. But I looked at the data, I looked at my own families, and honestly, it shocked me. Nobody wins this game. Men are chapter 2, just in another custom-made cage. Quick heads up, this one looks at both sides. So stick with me even if the first few minutes push a button. I promise it evens out. I'm not here to point fingers at strangers. So let's start with my own family. I grew in what a lot of Asian families call the perfect setup. One son, one daughter. So tell me, if you were the parent, how would you spread the family wealth? Straight 50 over 50? In reality, across millions of households, the split is predictable. The house, the family business, the assets that grow in value, those go to the son. The daughter gets what we can call the token of affection. Maybe a car, maybe some cash, maybe a tearful blessing on her wedding days. If you're an only daughter, this might not touch you directly. But widen the lens. Family with more kids or one generation up, and then pattern shows up again and again. This isn't really about money. It's about foundation someone gets built their entire adult life on. The perfect balance is a starting line of a big trap, and it catches everyone. So why does this happen? Ask the older generation, and it sounds practical. The son needs a financial cushion, a house, a wedding, the family name. The daughters, her husband's family will take care of her. Why spend twice? The logic wasn't always crazy. Decades ago, once a daughter married in China, she often moved far away. If she couldn't show up when you're sick, why would family wealth follow her? But did that still hold up today? High-speed rail now connects cities that used to take days. A daughter 3 provinces away can video call every night. And who actually shows up? Who takes the day off? Who's in the hospital hallway at 2 a.m.? Most of us know it from our own families. Daughters carry an equal share of elder care today. In a lot of families, more. Sons still handle the money and the decisions, but the hands-on work, feeding, bathing, hospital stays mostly falls on daughters. To be clear, sons should care for their parents too. I'm just pointing out that the older reason for unequal inheritance had quietly stopped being true. But the pattern hasn't moved. The reasoning fell apart, but the money never changed the direction. And that had real consequences for women. Cut off the family's core wealth from the start. They don't start adults on an equal footing. To survive, to afford housing, to give their kids a decent school, they filter partners through a harsh financial lens. Marriage stops feeling like companionship and starts feeling like a transaction. There's a cynical little joke in China that summed it up. A son is called a construction bank. You spend your whole life building capital for him. A daughter is called a commercial bank. She needs less investment up front, but she is expected to attach a much bigger one when she marries. And this isn't just a Chinese thing. In Kazakh culture, the youngest son inherits the family's main house in exchange for caring for his aging parents. Something similar happens in Uzbekistan. In both places, daughters marry out with a heritage dowry. Basically, the family saying, our job here is done, it's someone else's job now. And if you're thinking, okay, this is the Asian thing. Hold on, Europe had this too. It's called Primogeniture. In British aristocratic families, the eldest son gets the title, the land, everything. Daughters usually got nothing. That's not movie trope, that's actual law. For hundreds of years, this isn't backward Eastern custom. It's what happens almost everywhere money and family makes. So let's connect the dots. Women grew up without financial footing, so marriage ends up carrying a job it was never built for providing security. And once marriage does that kind of heavy lifting, it stops feeling like companionship and starts looking like a business deal with a price of entry attached. Because the stakes are so high, the price of entry lands almost entirely on the male side. It goes way up. And that right there is exactly where the trap slams shut on men. I know what it looks like from the outside. The free apartment, the family business, all that inherited wealth handed over. Looks like winning. Trust me, it's not paradise it looks like. This is exactly where the pressure starts to build. Society funneled all the wealth toward men, so it also dumped almost all the pressure onto their shoulders. In the West, people talk about rigid masculine expectations and burnout culture. In cultures with deep son preference, I call this the invisible wealth machine. If you're the son in this cycle, you pay for that privilege with two things: your freedom to make your own choices and your emotional freedom. First, your freedom to choose. If your parents bought your apartment, paid for your wedding, financed your entire adult life, they stop seeing themselves as just your parents. They become your investors. And investors expect the returns. They feel entitled to weigh in on your career, your marriage, everything. Want to stop your job and become an artist? Good luck pushing back against the people who own your roof. Second, you lose the right to fail. A man basically becomes a working source of income. You can't show weakness, can't take a break, can't admit you're falling apart, because your entire family's stability depends on you never stopping. So here's where that leaves us. Women get invalued on marriage market. Men get reduced to money-making machines. Women lose financial independence. Men lose the right to be emotionally human. And here's honestly the saddest part of this loop. A lot of women have been raised, generation after generation, to protect this pattern. How many times have you heard a young woman say or quietly think, "It's fine if my brother gets the house. As long as my future husband gives me one, I'm good." Let me be clear, I'm not blaming individual women. In a world that historically shut women out of equal wages and inheritance, looking for financial security through marriage isn't a personal feeling. It's a logic survival strategy. But zoom out. When enough people think this way, this mindset might be the single biggest thing standing between women and real independence today. When you trade your birthright to your family's wealth for the promise of a comfortable marriage, you're trading away your freedom. You ended up sacrificing your choices, your career. Sometimes you're saying over your own body. You become a minority shareholder in your own life because someone else put up all the capital. And online right now, there's this exhausting gender divide, men versus women, angry voices on both sides. But honestly, the enemy was never the person on the other side of the screen. This is outdated mindset that tricks us into thinking one side is exploding the other, when really it's exposing both of us. Legally, in most of countries, sons and daughters have equal inheritance rights. China is a great example. The laws guaranteed that for decades, but mentally, we're still miles away. A lot of us, Eastern Asia, Central Asia, the West, anywhere, have felt some version of these traditions ring on us. The quiet sting of unfairness as a kid, the financial pressure in your 20s, the exhaustion from measuring up the standards that don't make sense anymore. But here's the good news. We get to be the ones who break it. Can we fix the roof now, so our kids don't have to grow up getting rained on? Can we make sure our daughters get an equal share of a family's wealth, so our sons don't have to carry the entire weight alone? And to be clear, this isn't me telling you to go fight your parents over their money. Your parents earn what they have, and it's completely their right to decide what happens to it. This is about what we choose to do differently for the next generation. Because real gender equality isn't a slogan you post once a year on International Women's Day. It's a wire transfer to your daughter's bank account, and it's giving your son the freedom to feel things. So let's talk about it. Drop a comment below. Do you see this same trap playing out in your own family, your own culture? I read as many as I can. And if you're into these deep dives on cultures and psychology, please subscribe, drop a like, send this to someone who needs to hear it. I'm Chuchu. See you in the next one. Take care. Bye.